Hello everyone and welcome back to another vlog. If you're new here, my name is Olivia and I am currently traveling throughout Mexico with my boyfriend Chico. Some of you guys might have been following me since my Guatemala travels, and if you didn't know, me and my boyfriend Chico, we were traveling Guatemala for like 6 to 7 months this past year. We started in May and then we left in January, and Guatemala holds such a special place in my heart and I just love it so much, and I wanted to just kind of sit down with you guys and share some things that maybe you should know before traveling to Guatemala, and some things that I wish I knew, and also things that our friends prepared us for beforehand. So shout out to Alfie and Hannah. They answered so many questions for us before traveling, and Alfie was a big reason why we even chose to go to Guatemala, because it was never on our bucket list or never on our mind. But I'm just so happy that we did travel there, and it's just changed my life so much. I have my Starbucks here. I have a whole list of everything that I kind of want to talk to you guys about. Right now I'm currently in Mexico City. We've been traveling Mexico for the past 2.5 months and I absolutely love it in Mexico as well. So if you want to see some Mexico vlogs, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I'm gonna have an entire guide as well on my blog vialive.com, where you guys can have more of a written version of, you know, my favorite places and things I recommend and things you should know before traveling Guatemala. I do want to just kind of talk about though that like Guatemala is a place that you can't, as much as you think you can prepare for, it's kind of a place that you're gonna have to experience for yourself. And especially Lake Atitlan, it just brought so many different things out in me that I didn't even, you know, realize. It's such a spiritual place, and yeah, I didn't know how it would make me actually feel until being there. And you don't really know how you're going to react in certain situations and handle certain situations until actually being in the situation. So yeah, as much as you can prepare, I would just express that you need to just chill out and relax, and everything's gonna be great. Just have a positive mind and a positive attitude, I guess. First, we'll talk about visa. So upon arrival to Guatemala, you get an automatic 90 days and you can stay in Guatemala for 3 months. It all depends on the return ticket and all of that, depending on who you are and the airline and all that. We didn't really have a return ticket. We just told them that we plan to leave within the 90 days. Frequent stop or frequent visa run is going to Mexico, San Cristobal, or to El Salvador, or you know, whatever you want if you don't want to stay there the entire time. If you do plan to stay there long term, you can do visa runs to Mexico or to El Salvador, and it's totally fine and safe. We took a bus from Guatemala to Mexico and it was so great, and it's a long ride but it was worth it. I just think it's much more affordable and you get to see more of Guatemala on the way there. Things that maybe you should download on your phone beforehand are Google Maps is definitely something that you want to download, and make sure you download the currency converter and then the translate app. So I would make sure to download Spanish on the translate app, and Google Maps and the currency converter are all things that I used every single day in Guatemala, and it was so helpful because your service doesn't always work there unless you decide to get a SIM card or whatever. Great to have on hand, and especially when things happen, you just have that already on your phone. The currency, so the currency there is quetzales. Every 100 Q is about $13 now. When we got there, it was about $12, so the exchange rate went up about $1 since we were last there. I think that just fluctuates, and that's a normal thing. Check before. Cash is mainly how you pay for things in Guatemala, in Antigua or Lake Atitlan. If you are in Antigua, some places accept credit card payments, but most of the time I just personally used cash, and we just went to the ATMs. The ATMs are located in the center of Antigua or at the pharmacias or in Lake Atitlan. There's only ATMs in the bigger towns, and even some of the bigger towns like San Marcos. The ATM was going out quite frequently there, so you would have to travel to another town, but I'm going to get more into that in a little bit. So just keep in mind that I wouldn't recommend exchanging your money at the airport. I mean, we made a mistake and did that, and we lost about $100. So if you do have to, make sure that like it's only a little bit, and then when you get into Antigua or Guatemala City or whatever, then you can get money out of your bank account. So the main language in Guatemala is Spanish, but if you go to the smaller towns and Lake Atitlan, there's 21 different Mayan languages that are spoken, and Spanish is actually the second language for the majority of people there. So the main language is not Spanish around the lake or in majority, but like if Guatemala City or Antigua is Spanish. Atitlan is Mayan, and Mayan villages surrounding the entire lake. It's amazing to see and witness and listen. A lot of places don't really know English, and I would definitely recommend learning some basic Spanish before traveling to Guatemala. Basic like buenos dias, buenos tardes, just basic words and phrases. Everyone says good morning and good afternoon and good evening in Guatemala. Everyone is so extremely friendly, and it's just nice to be able to communicate those special little phrases and greetings towards them that really go a long way and just show your respect to the local people. Yeah, I definitely recommend knowing some basic Spanish and not assuming that they know English, because they probably won't. And I will say that my Spanish is not 100%, but I definitely do my best, and people are definitely willing to help you if you look willing to learn. It's just really an amazing place to learn Spanish. There's also Spanish schools surrounding Lake Atitlan and also in Antigua. I unfortunately didn't get to go. I don't know why, it just didn't work. My excuses, right? But it's a great place to learn Spanish. Getting around. So if you don't go to Guatemala City, you're typically gonna get off the airport and you're gonna grab a taxi from the airport, and you might have to barter a little bit, but you're gonna get a taxi to Antigua and that will take you there. I recommend not skimping out on Guatemala City. I think it's an amazing city, and I think it's underrated, and I think so many people kind of make you scared of Guatemala City, like, oh, it's so scary and it's dangerous and all these things. And while that may be true in certain neighborhoods, just like any other city, like New York and Chicago and LA, Mexico City, and all these different cities in the world, of course, and Paris and London, but there are some really beautiful places in Guatemala City, and I think it's a different energy than the rest of like Antigua or Lake Atitlan, and I just think it's an amazing place. There's really amazing coffee shops and food and just like a cool little culture there, so I just don't think that you should be scared of it. Obviously be cautious wherever you are, and the lake and Antigua and all these different places. If not, you're gonna take a taxi from Guatemala City to Antigua, and that's about an hour drive. It says it's 20 minutes, it's not, it's about an hour drive. There's traffic in the city, of course, and then from Antigua to Lake Atitlan, it's around a 3.5 hour drive, and you can book a shuttle for that, and you could be at a group or private, but we used a T-Trans, and I'll put them here and also leave them in the description box below. We use them for all of our travels and really loved them and enjoyed them, and we also use them from Lake Atitlan to San Cristobal, and yeah, it was just great, and they're amazing. So they have a location in Antigua, and they also have a location in Panajachel. The main way to get around in Antigua is by tuk-tuk or walking. I mean, we barely took a tuk-tuk. We took it once just for fun because we were pretty tired when Vincent came to visit us. But the other times we literally walked everywhere. It's such a walkable city. It's kind of like San Francisco in a way where you can walk the entire place in one day. It's so amazing how it's kind of set up. I mean, you can take an Uber too, but we've had some weird things happen with the Uber there where they tried to they denied our ride when we got there because they wanted us to pay extra, and like all these weird things were happening, so we didn't really rely on Uber. I think we took a taxi either, but yeah, Uber's available, but I wouldn't really say it's like the best. When you get to Lake Atitlan, a bit tricky, so you're gonna arrive in Panajachel, and from Panajachel, wherever you're staying around the lake, you're gonna have to take a boat to whatever town you're staying at. For instance, if you're staying in San Marcos, you're gonna have to take a water taxi, a boat, a lancha from Pana to San Marcos. It's about a 20-minute boat ride. You can do public or private, and this is very important to know before going to Lake Atitlan, because I've seen so many YouTube videos where they got stuck in different towns where they're not staying, and then they had to book a private boat or stuck in the town that they were at. Okay, from Panajachel to any other town, the last boat is 7 o'clock or 7:30. And then if you're going from like San Marcos to other places, the last boat is 5 o'clock. So if you're going from San Marcos to Jaibalito, it's like 5:30. So that's something to be very aware of, that the last boat, I would say, is 5 o'clock. And you can get stuck, and it's just a good thing to know before going to Guatemala. And when you're in your town in Guatemala, or you get to a different town, the main source is either walking or tuk-tuk, and tuk-tuks are really great. You can take a tuk-tuk from certain towns to another town, but honestly the boat is a little bit better. Tuk-tuks can definitely be hard on your body, especially if you're going through a lot of rocks and stuff. For instance, like from Sununa to San Marcos, it's definitely like really hard on your body. And I did experience whiplash from, I believe, like both the boat and that, and I was just in really bad pain for like 5 days. I don't know if you guys remember, everyone tried to diagnose me, and I realized that I think it's because of the boat, and we were there in rainy season, and the boats are just like going like that. And there's also the chicken bus that you can take from Antigua to Lake Atitlan, or from Lake Atitlan to Quetzaltenango or Shella, but we never did that. It's definitely, you can, and I know many people that have. We just never tried it out. If you have, definitely leave it in the comments below and share your experience with us, because I would love to know how that was. Is rainy season versus dry season. So rainy season is May to about end of September, and then October to April is dry season. I was there in both a dry and wet season, and as much as dry season is incredible because like it's not raining all the time, it's definitely more crowded, and the prices definitely jump up at the lake. And I saw it with my own eyes. Like coffee bags went up, like just coffee beans that we were getting every single few days went up, the food went up, so many things definitely rise, which makes sense because they're going to take advantage of the tourism coming in. But that in itself was just kind of like, okay, just see it kind of like changing. Also, there's just a ton of tourists, so it's going to be more central, and it's a little bit more busy and packed all around, and you'll definitely get a little bit more obnoxious characters, and that's totally fine because people are enjoying their life. But I would say we enjoyed the rainy season so much, and it was just beautiful, and everything was so lush and green. Mostly rained in the afternoon, and then you know, you have your morning and then you go hang out. The difference though is the bugs, because in wet season you have so many mosquitoes and so many bugs, and they definitely took advantage of my feet and my body, and it was really a nightmare for me as far as that, but it was worth it in all the other ways. But if you're not like really one to get bit up by bugs, I recommend rainy season. I just think it's so beautiful, and the weather, and it's quieter. What you should pack and what you shouldn't pack. It's definitely not a place to dress fancy, show out, or anything like that. The lake definitely humbles you, and even Antigua, it's a beautiful city, but I definitely wouldn't recommend like wearing heels or, you know, really flashy items, because it is still not like that. You definitely dress nice in Antigua. Keep your heels at home. Wear comfortable shoes, because there is cobblestones, and in Lake Atitlan it is dirt roads, nature, and there is just, you're not gonna need that at all. So I would wear really comfortable clothes. I would also, if you're going in wet season, I would bring a poncho. I would bring a reusable water bottle, because the trash system in Guatemala is not amazing, and every place that we've stayed at offers eco filters, and you can refill your water bottle right then and there, and it's totally perfectly fine and clean. I was skeptical at first, but we were fine. So yeah, definitely bring a water bottle, sunglasses obviously to protect your eyes, and sunscreen because the sun is pretty harsh there. I'd recommend bringing a day pack. You're going to be going between different towns as well, and you would need to bring some of those items. Bug spray, like I said, there's a lot of mosquitoes and a lot of bugs. The thing to kind of talk about is that Guatemala will open you up to insects and creatures, and if you're not comfortable with that, it's definitely going to take you outside of your comfort zone, and that's something to be aware of and to kind of just let everything kind of come your way. The first place we stayed at Lake Atitlan was, I will link it here, it's the Eco like tiny home, and there were spiders everywhere, like all above us, and it's kind of insane. And then there were scorpions as well, and I don't mean this to scare anyone, but I just want you to be aware that these things are real. They're part of life and their nature, and I think so many of us in the US have been like taught that these things are bad, including myself, because I used to be so scared of spiders and bugs and everything, and I would make my sister kill them, and then I would like not go in my room for a few days because I'd be so scared. That I think it's just like we're privileged enough to not have that and kind of feel like we can control those things. But when you're in a place like Lake Atitlan that's a forest and just like untamed jungle, there's nothing you could do about it, and because you kill one, there's going to be more that keep coming in. And so our first experience with that, I actually handled it pretty well, and I'm pretty proud of myself. Chico as well, but it definitely opened our eyes a lot to that situation, and he actually got stung by a scorpion, which is crazy, but like he ended up, it was here, and then he touched it and then it stung him, and then he also woke up with one in his hand. I don't know, scorpions kept coming for him. Something to be aware of, and it's totally fine, but I wouldn't let it ruin your experience at all, because it's part of the beauty there. Earplugs. At Lake Atitlan, there are wild dogs everywhere, and you're gonna see a lot of things that like might not look normal to you where you come from. There's gonna be hurt dogs, and there's gonna be hungry dogs, and there's going to be a lot of sad situations that, I mean, it just puts life into perspective for you, and I've had a lot of cries over it, but what can you do? It's part of life, and you can't save everything as much as you want to. Dogs can be pretty loud at night. Roosters are also loud. I mean, I love the roosters, and I think they're beautiful, and I love waking up to them, but if that bothers you, or if you're sensitive to noise, and also fireworks are constant like noise there. If you're sensitive to sound or just might worry that it might bother you, please bring earplugs to help make your trip a little bit easier. But I didn't use them, and it was totally fine. I definitely had a few nights where I was woken up, but it's all part of the experience, honestly. So I would also bring quick dry towel. I'm gonna link everything below also on my blog post, but a quick dry towel is just gonna be great if you go swimming at the lake, or if you're in a place where like they don't really offer towels if you stay in a hostel. It's just nice to have. I'll link the one that I use below. I would bring your yoga mat. There are yoga mats purchased around the lake, but if you want to bring your own yoga mat and feel comfortable with your own yoga mat, it's definitely a nice place to do yoga, because it's such a spiritual experience, and I mean the views, and there's a bunch of yoga classes surrounding the lake. You can go to Eagle's Nest, you can go to Yoga Forest, you can go to Mystical Yoga Farm. There's multiple yoga experiences around the lake. Water shoes or like slip-on, definitely good like if you're going in an outdoor shower, or just easy access to kind of like walk around. And I brought my Tevas, which were great for swimming because like you can wear them in the water, they're waterproof. Not bringing a suitcase, it's really not realistic at all. When you get to Antigua, I mean, it's all cobblestone, so rolling it is kind of a hassle. And then when you get to the lake, it's even more unrealistic because you are hopping on a boat, you're putting your luggage there, and then there's really nowhere to lug your luggage. So if you can, or if you have a backpack, I would recommend doing that, or something you can carry. So that's as far as like what to pack and what not to pack. If you guys have any questions, let me know. So some things to do. There's so many things to do surrounding Guatemala. There are some things that I haven't done, but I would recommend checking out if you're interested. You can hike a volcano. The most common one is Fuego or Acatenango, and that's in Antigua. You can also hike some at Lake Atitlan, but yeah, some of them are pretty, I don't want to scare anyone, but like things have happened, and yeah, I would just do your own research as well. You can learn Spanish. You can go to the big market in Chichicastenango and just see all the artisanal goods and the food and everything like that. You can take a chicken bus there. Shella is also a beautiful place. I would explore all the different towns surrounding the lake, visit all the ruins and churches in Antigua because they're so incredibly beautiful. Visit the local mercado everywhere that you can because they're my favorite. You take some classes surrounding the lake. Like I've mentioned, there's a ton of yoga classes, but there's also like mushroom classes. There are permaculture classes. There are herbal, everything that you can possibly imagine is surrounding the lake, and artisanal, you know, hand woven classes. And I would also recommend visiting a coffee farm, or obviously tasting the local coffee of Guatemala, because it's just so good. And Antigua is a beautiful cafe culture city, and I have a whole video on my favorite cafes in Antigua, so check those out. Yeah, I just love Antigua, all the cafes. It's honestly just like my dream, and I just love it so much. Oh, I also wouldn't bring any hair dryer or anything like that. It's definitely not needed unless you're gonna be in Antigua long term, but I didn't. I barely wore any. I did not wear any makeup or do my hair. It's definitely not the place for that. Where to stay? Antigua is kind of like north, south, east, and west, and I've stayed at every part of that, and I loved every part for different reasons. We've stayed in both in an Airbnb, and we also stayed at the Good Hotel for one night, which is kind of pricey, but I really enjoyed it. It was beautiful. We stayed there, Airbnb, and then there's like a ton of hostels as well around Antigua. Just do your research. But yeah, we've had really great luck with Airbnbs in Antigua, and I love Antigua so much. And at the lake has 11 different towns surrounding the lake: San Marcos, San Pedro, Panajachel, San Juan, Santiago, Santa Cruz, Jaibalito, Sununa, and a few other ones. I visited a majority of them, but there are some that I still didn't get to check off because it takes a lot of energy to go to each town. But I'll kind of talk about the different towns and what I think about them. So Panajachel is a beautiful town. It's the main town when you enter into Lake Atitlan. It's great for, like, it has beautiful art, and it has a beautiful church and a great place to walk around. We stayed there for 3 nights on our way to leaving to Mexico, and learned that I didn't like staying there. The food was not great, like, at all. And the cafes were pretty good, the coffee is good, but like it's not really like a place to like work or anything like that. Yeah, it just wasn't my favorite as far as living. I love visiting, and I love, like, I have a nail salon there that I love. There's a few like breakfast places, and it's nice to like go see the little shops around the lakefront. It's really a nice place to visit. There's not a lot to offer, even as far as food goes, and it's kind of weird to me that like the other towns have much better food than that one, but that's just my personal opinion. And we don't eat meat either, so we definitely look for more vegetarian options, and they don't have that in Pana. And the views just didn't seem as great as other places. So San Marcos is one of my favorite places around the lake for many reasons. It's the accessibility to things that I love and ingredients that I love, and it's a great like balance between expats and locals, while some may agree that or not. I mean, people call it the hippie town, and that's totally fine. Like, whatever, I guess, judgment or word that you want to say. I don't really like define myself in that way, but I definitely just love everything it has to offer. It has nice restaurants and food, and the community there is great, and it just feels like a nice place to have a market. It's a little bit bigger than some of the other towns, and it just feels kind of like curated to people who, you know, take good care of their body and their health and all of that, if that makes sense. There's a lot of yoga classes and health food stores, and there's a few markets there as well, so everything's pretty accessible. I really love it so much. The night there is quiet. It's not a night place at all. The nightlife is not really there. I mean, you can find it if you want, but most places close around 7 or 8, and yeah, it's just really a nice, calm environment. San Pedro, I love visiting San Pedro for the food and just for like a different experience. It's definitely much bigger than San Marcos. It's known for being a backpacker town. Amazing, and it's incredible. I necessarily wouldn't stay there because it definitely is a party town and it's more alive, and that's totally fine. But like when I go to the lake, I want to just be at the lake. I love it so much, and it's beautiful. I love visiting. I definitely prefer San Marcos, but if you are like single or wanting to meet people, other backpackers, I definitely would recommend San Pedro. San Juan, I went there once, and I don't know why I never really went back, because I don't understand. It's such a beautiful town, but they do a lot of artisan made goods and hand woven items, and there's a lot of coffee shops and stuff like that. Definitely feels a little bit more local, but yeah, it's a great place. Santiago, we went there on the last trip, and I fell in love with it. It's incredibly beautiful, and you get just a whole different view of the lake that you don't get from the other side. And the people were really great. It feels definitely more Mayan, and it's bigger. There's a lot of shops. It kind of feels like Pana, but like yeah, it just feels like a really special place, and I definitely recommend going there. We went to the Mirador where you can see the bird, the local bird, and it's like one of the only places you could see that. I'll leave the link below. I guess the best time to go is in the morning. I wouldn't say there's a lot of vegetarian food, so if you are a vegetarian, I just didn't really see it, but maybe I'm wrong and let me know. Jaibalito is one of the smallest towns around the lake. We stayed there for almost a month or 2 weeks or something, and really enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite. There's a few restaurants, like 3. There's not much to do in the town at all. There's no ATM. Really enjoyed the stay, and it's a beautiful view. We want more things to do and like cafes and stuff like that. So Sununa is my second favorite town for many reasons, and it's just beautiful and kind of untouched, and there's like a lot of farms coming up, and permaculture farms, and yeah, just really cool conscious things developing there. And there's a waterfall, and there's a really great restaurants in there as well. I just think it's a really beautiful place. We stayed there, and I honestly found it to be my favorite stay. It kind of was secluded from the main town or main like road, and so it gave us a really nice, calm and serene place, and we stayed with a local family. I really enjoyed it so much. If I were to live in Guatemala long term, or in like Atitlan, Sununa would probably be the place for that, like for farm or land or whatever, but it's a beautiful place. Another question I got is about like the outlets there. The outlets there are the exact same as the US, so you do not need a converter at all. I believe it's the same in all of Latin America, but definitely correct me if I'm wrong. If you're coming from Europe or Australia or wherever else, you're definitely going to need a converter, but just so you know. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that I covered majority of all the questions and things that you might want to know before traveling to Guatemala. If there's anything that I missed out, definitely leave it in the comments below, or anything that you learned while you were on your trip. If you are going to Guatemala soon, I really hope that you enjoy your visit there. It's such a beautiful, beautiful country and place, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe below. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is at @ViaLive. We'll be traveling throughout Mexico, so make sure to like watch these Mexico videos, and yeah, stay tuned for where we are going next. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys soon.